Mr. Chair, you are live.
All right, thank you. Welcome to the Annapolis Planning Commission virtual public meeting for Thursday, July 2nd. I'd like to call the meeting of order and can we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Klein,
Present.
Mr. Bellamy,
I think you muted Everett.
Bellamy is present.
thank you. Ms. Butler,
Present.
Mr. Cummings,
Present.
and Mr. Riley.
Present.
Great. Well, we have five, so we have a quorum. So we will get going here. Let me share the agenda really quick. Okay. Okay, so here's the agenda for this evening. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Okay, so on to approval of minutes from June 18th. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review those and entertain a motion to approve as written. They look good to me.
So moved.
Wait a second.
Second.
Any discussion on those before we vote? I think they all looked great to me. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays or abstentions? Okay, great. Well, that takes care of our administrative business. And as people can see, we've been asked to put time estimates next to the agenda items, and so far we've made up a lot of time, which is great. And we'll see. Those are the easy ones. We'll see in the next two substantive items, which we book kept for an hour apiece. We'll see how that goes. But okay, on to the first public hearing. It is STP 2026-12. It's for proposed senior living institution for the care of the aging at 960 Bev Village Drive. That's basically where the old Quantum Loft was. And this is essentially a redo of something we approved a few years ago. And but the approval ran out, and so they're bringing it back. And so I will turn it over to Mr. Meekins to introduce it, and then introduce the project team, who I assume will make a presentation and allow us to ask some questions. And then after that, we'll go into the public hearing. So let me stop sharing. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commission members. Just to reiterate, yes, this is STP 2026-00012 Bay Village Suites. Proposed 3-floor with 1 ground floor of parking, 105 unit independent living facility. It was previously approved back in 2022. The approval has expired, and that basically brings the applicant back before the Planning Commission for another approval or review and approval. Just a bit of clarification to bring everyone up to speed. So this had been approved, and both the grading and building permits are currently in review with the city, and they're both very close to final approval. This is more or less holding them up from finalizing documents So with that in mind, a couple other just minor housekeeping things. The applicant posted the property, sent mailings, and this application was advertised in the newspaper. Those were all done in a timely manner. Also, there were 4 written comments received, and I forwarded those this afternoon to everyone.
Yeah,
Here.
we got those.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
Since if I can interrupt you real quick, just procedurally, with respect to all of the project documents that we have access to, what's the statute on how those have to be shared to the public? Is there a time frame that they need to be made available on EnerGov, or is there no statute that says they have to be available to the public other than just the notice? You know, the notice in the paper and that kind of stuff.
yeah, so those notices go out 15 days before. I did share the staff report and some associated documents with the report that I shared with the commissioners. I shared that online. I don't know, to answer your question, I don't know off the top of my head if there is an exact time window that all the application materials need to be shared or should be shared. After reading some of the comments that actually came in,
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
yeah, I realized that I should have shared all of the application materials, and that probably would have circumvented some of the questions that came up.
Yeah, and so if I could just deviate for just a second on that, and I don't know who to task this to, whether I task it to our recording secretary, Ms. Marquis, or whether that should go to our external counsel, Ms. Wood. But I would really like to get clarification on what the requirements are for just for the future, for the requirements, what the requirements are for documents to be posted. So if somebody, you know, and I do this a lot, you see a sign up someplace, or if it's close, you get a notification, and then you see the project number and you want to go look at the documents. And so I'm just really not sure what the law or the policy is for when those need to be posted. So we don't have to talk about it anymore here, but I would like one of you two to go research that and get back with us, so that if there is a, you know, a legal requirement, I want to make sure in the future that that's met.
That's a very important point.
Yeah.
I'd like to underscore how important it is for us to get clarification on that. Chair Pine.
Yeah. Okay. So I won't take any more time here other than just to task that we get an answer on that. But thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up and pointing that out. It definitely is a very important item. And I won't make any excuse. I did share everything this afternoon when I noticed the comments coming in. But in the future, I will get you an answer, and we'll make that a set in stone habit to follow.
Okay.
I can't, Chair, if you would like, I can certainly quote from the rules. It would normally be in the rules for the particular commission or board. And in the Planning Commission's rules, it states that under Section 5.1E, that the planning and zoning staff reports and other briefing materials shall be provided to the Planning Commission at least 7 days in advance of the meeting to which they apply, and make all such reports and briefing materials available to the public at least 7 days in advance of the meeting to which they apply.
Okay, so sounds like our rules say 7 days. And I should have known that if that's in our procedures, but thank you for bringing that up.
Mr. Klein, could I be heard on this topic? I'd keep it brief if you allow me.
Sure.
I think it's obviously great practice to make sure these materials are available. I don't really see a downside to it. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's kind of also the purpose of the notice requirements. When applicants go and post these notice signs on the subject property, they expressly state, anyone looking for information, contact the Department of Planning and Zoning. Here's the assigned planner. Here's the case number. 15 days in advance, at least, everyone's on notice of where they can find these materials. Anybody was free to call Mr. Meekins and ask for them. I obviously don't know if it happened or not. It's obviously great practice to just make them posted on EnerGov, but I'm not sure that's necessarily what's provided by this 5.1. I think 5.1 says they got to be available for anyone who asks at the very least 7 days in advance and transmitted to the commissioners. And I think we did that.
Okay, I wasn't bringing that into question from the applicant standpoint, so.
Sure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyway, but that's just something I'll take under advisement. Okay, so sorry to derail the presentation there. Please continue.
No problem, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So a couple other items that I'd, after reviewing not only comments, but rereading the staff report, I just wanted to add some clarity to a couple items that I think might help as we move forward through this. First being the traffic study. The original traffic study was actually done in August of 2021. And that was actually adjusted for COVID. Mead and Hunt is the consultant that did the traffic study, and they recertified that via letter once they re-reviewed that and applied it against current metrics, and that was recertified in May of this year, 2026. Secondly, there are references to the Lidl property, actually owned by Lidl, and during the original application and submission and hearing for this, the intent was, it was intended to be developed as a Lidl grocery store next door to this development, proposed development. Lidl still owns the property, but it's also, so that is also in the Anne Arundel County. It's not in the city, but there has been recent actions and questions and actually proposals for that that parcel or those parcels to be annexed into the city and redeveloped into right now a possible housing development. So
Yeah, if I could, just for people listening, we've already had a work session on that, and in 2 weeks we'll have another work session on that. So we have seen, so these are work sessions, and there's nothing, there's no application or anything, but we sort of have a sense of what's coming. And with respect to some of the questions we got from the public on this, it does show the extension of Bay Village Drive through that property. That's something that's obviously very important to all of us. That kind of thing's pretty prevalent in the comprehensive plan. So we'll be keeping an eye out for that. So go ahead, Mr. Meekins.
Yeah, so one of the main reason why I bring that up is the proposal or some of the concept we've seen, and something that the planning department has or planning and zoning has pushed for, is a connection with the extension of Bay Village Drive, a connection all the way through to the signalized intersection at Bay Ridge Road and Georgetown. So that kind of opens up the traffic flow in both directions. So that is something that planning and zoning is more or less going to require. The third point, I only have two more, and the third point I wanted to make was The Quantum Sale building is part of this redevelopment, and stormwater management for not only the developed portion of this, I'll call it campus, takes into account that lot or parcel, and the stormwater management proposed for the Bay Village Suites. This application also takes into account that area. The last thing I want to touch on is the adequacy of public facilities, APF. That was approved in on January 13th of 2022, and that has a lifespan of 5 years. So it would expire in January of 2027. So APF is still valid for this project. And again, just to reiterate again, this project was previously approved, and unfortunately it expired prior to permits being pulled. So really, that's the introduction I'll give. I'm sure the applicant and the applicant's team have things they would like to highlight and point out and interject. But from the city standpoint, that is our introduction.
Mr. Meekins, can I have you go back to the first item regarding traffic? And I know that it was conducted, years ago, but then an updated report was submitted in May 2026. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what kind of survey was done then? Was it the same as the previous one or similar?
So it was a comparison, and actually, I believe that is the recertification letter, and I'm generalizing, but the recertification letter took the traffic counts and parts of the study and compared those counts against, I'll say, current metrics that are available to the public. And I am not a traffic engineer. So the city went back to the same consultant and asked them to reevaluate what they have done. And they did so in the form of a letter verifying that the traffic study was still valid. And from what I recall reading that letter, traffic flows were actually marginally less than what they had originally observed.
Yeah, but it's noted in the public comments, the community members have a big concern about traffic, and they made a point of highlighting how things have changed since COVID in 2023 in terms of traffic in that corridor. So I just wondered what do they base that follow-up survey on?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a more detailed answer to give you at this point.
Well, if somebody testifies today, we can ask the question where they get their data from. So let's hold that thought.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question. Mike, this is in your staff report on page 4, under design standards. Midway through the design standard comment, you wrote, with Lidl grocery store proposed adjacent to and north of this site, the goal of Bay Village Drive connecting Edgewood and Georgetown roads has been compromised. So you just mentioned that the grocery store is not happening, but can you address that connecting comment?
Yeah, unfortunately, that was inadvertently left in from the first report during my update. So again, similar to what I explained, the Lidl grocery store doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'm going to say it won't. And that is that connection with the Lidl plans. I don't believe they had proposed a connection to the Georgetown Road at the Georgetown Road intersection. And that's why I brought up that now with a possible potential new housing development, the city is pushing and will require a connection at that signalized intersection connecting to Bay Village Drive.
Two around big laterals. That was 30,000.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think the lawyers and stuff were just talking also. I'm not sure if they were trying to comment on what your comment was or just having a private conversation.
I'm sorry, I was asking that the door get left open in our office. It's extremely hot in here.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, not to do with this. Got it. My other question for you, Mike, is I was looking at the certification of APF dated January 13th, 2022. And it's interesting, I can't remember the facts of when we were approving the stormwater, but I noticed that the stormwater facilities section doesn't include anything about the fact that our stormwater code says that we'll be treating 125% of the state stormwater environmental site design standards. And that's nowhere in here, but again, maybe it's somewhere and I just didn't see it. So 125% is.
Yeah, the 125% is what the city requires. It very well could not reflect in that original or that APF certification, but rest assured that is in the grading permit application and design.
And so we don't have any of those documents, is that correct?
No, but they are,
Okay.
They would be available. I don't know if they are available right now to the public online, but they certainly can be made available. And again, that grading and of course the building permit, they're all in review.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything. It's hard to approve something where you actually haven't seen the numbers, but according to our record, we must have approved it with seeing that earlier. So I feel uncomfortable saying that that it's missing when we approved it earlier, but I just didn't see it now. And I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I did see in reviewing the materials, I did see the 125% in the calculations, but I believe are in the stormwater report.
Okay.
So
Good. Thank you. That's all I have for right now.
okay, anybody else before we turn it over to the applicant? All right. Mr. Fulton, you're gonna drive the bus here?
I am, Mr. Chairman, and I'll try to keep it brief. Again, Trip Fulton on behalf of your applicant this evening, GSX Sunrise BV Phase 2 LLC. As Mr. Meekins stated, this is a reapplication for site design approval for an institution for the care of the aged at property known as 960 Bay Village Drive. For those unaware, the reapplications for a project that was previously approved in 2022 under project number SDP 2020-0006. The applicant is here this evening with the same application as was previously submitted and previously approved. Is the same plans, the same designs, and in fact, they're accompanied by the memo certifying the previous traffic impact analysis that the applicant had previously had to certify that it's still valid. And as Mr. Meekins noted, it actually suggests that traffic counts are lower than previously measured. We also have a memo certifying that the large white oak specimen tree that's situated at the center of this site remains in good condition and will continue to be subject to the applicant's tree mitigation and tree protection plans. And finally, this certificate of adequate public facilities. It is a bit unusual, but our code provides that our APF certificate still is valid for quite a few months. So while it's unfortunate that this original approval did expire, it's certainly not for lack of effort by either the applicant or the city. Since originally gaining approval back in 2022, both the city and Bay Village have been working diligently on grading permit and building permit approvals. And as Mr. Meekins stated, we're just about at the proverbial finish line, except for this site design reapproval. So I'm joined this evening by the same team that originally presented this application. We've got John Grant with Grant Architects. I've got Terry Schuman with Atwell Engineering, and I've got Shelley Wrench of Annapolis Landscape Architects. We do have a representative of Sunrise, who is an investor and a partner in this project, Clyde McGraw, who's also present with us this evening. Before I turn things over to John Grant, I'll just clarify, because Mike alluded to it. Notice of this hearing was duly posted at the subject property 15 days in advance. It's remained there continuously, and that same notice was mailed to all required property owners, again, at least 15 days in advance. Affidavits to that effect have been submitted to the Department of Planning and Zoning. And if there are any other documents that you might not have, but you suspect were applied for, I've got a lot of them here. I'd be happy to show my screen. I'm going to kick things over to John Grant. And so long as the IT folks don't mind, I'd like to share my screen. Mr. Chairman, do you have an issue with that?
No, go right ahead.
Thank you.
I think people online would like to see those visuals.
Give me 1 second. Once this Zoom thing gets out of my way, I'll make this full screen.
There you go.
There's a way of making this full screen, forgive me.
I think that's about as big as it gets.
Oh, I had it full screen, there we go. There we go. There we go.
There always screw things up, takes technology.
I'll just stick with it like this. Can you see this screen, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, we can see it.
Excellent. John, would you mind introducing yourself to the Planning Commission for me?
Yeah, I'm John Grant. I run Grant Architects. I'm a registered architect for 45 years. And I actually lived in Annapolis down the street for 33 of those years. In fact, I lived on, I lived down in, down right off, the street down to the right there. I live about a mile and a half from the site. I used to drive by it every day and look at it. And subsequent to all that, I came to acquire the site as a developer and architect, and we actually have acquired both sites. And so one of the important things about this site was trying to create an architectural connection between the two projects and make it contextual so it fits in with our neighborhood. And we spent 2 years in meetings with the community talking about how we could better design the building. Those meetings were very fruitful. They came up with the courtyards and the tree that we saved and a number of different things. I think as we go through this, you'll see that there's a lot of thoughtful things about this that are going to make this a much better project and something the city will be proud of. Hopefully you're proud of the assisted living that we put there. I think people all over the country know that facility. It's one of the iconic facilities right now in assisted living around the country. In any case, one of the things I want to put your minds at rest at before we get started is you're looking at the same plans and the same design, the same project you looked at originally. And we did that originally with Tom Smith's group. And going forward, we worked with Chris Jakubiak. And I think both of them are on board with what we're doing here. I think, one of the things that's good to know is that it's going to be very positive for seniors now, because this facility provides housing for seniors who are not challenged physically or medically, but are challenged socially. and maybe physically just from the mobility standpoint. And so we have both facilities side by side there. So you have sort of a mecca for seniors here. Now, on top of that, all of these facilities are rental. So it's accessible to anyone. You don't have to buy $1 million suite or something like that to move in here. Anyone from the public can rent a unit in here. So it's really open to the public and made accessible to the public. Beyond that, I was going to try and address one of the concerns about traffic. And
can I ask just one question about your last comment?
Sure.
And so basically would you say it's age restricted or?
Oh, yeah. People in this facility will, it's 65 and over is the age restriction, but the people in this facility are likely 85 years old.
Yeah.
They are more than likely survivors of marriages. I mean, from the standpoint of being a surviving party, they will be fed and they will be having their units cleaned, and they will have laundry services and other services, and they'll have a big social program. So, and they'll have spaces here that they can bring their children to have interaction and their friends. And that's why it's sort of an important facility. And there's connection right at grade over to the assisted living. So there'll be some connection also to some of the parties that go on in that main central area in the assisted living and theater and things like that. Although there is a theater in this building, there's a plethora of activity spaces here for seniors. It's going to be a great facility for seniors in this area. I guess the other thing I was going to address was the question about traffic. Because when we originally approved this facility, Lido was planning on building a 200-car parking lot adjacent to this. And that parking lot was going to be revolving until 9 o'clock at night with cars. What's projected now for that site is somewhere around 39 to 40 townhouses. But I have to tell you that took a tremendous load off of the calculations for traffic in the area. That plan we also have access to, and we've seen it. It does create the connection through to the light at the road. So there is a cross connection from one light to the other light, which additionally takes pressure off the intersection and creates, again, more of a residential character to this whole area. The area has suffered from somewhat of a blight. There's a bunch of buildings that are on those sites there that are, adjacent, that are in very bad repair. And we are taking down the metal building here, which is about the only Butler building that still exists in Annapolis. So we're going to leave this property in very, very good repair with very nice buildings and walkways and sidewalks and interactive community spaces. Anyway, as you can see, the site plan shows to the lower right is our assisted living facility. And to the upper left is the independent living facility. There's two big courtyards. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 courtyards in the assisted living. We think that having indoor and outdoor space is really important to seniors and everyone in Annapolis, because most of the time when you live in Annapolis, you live outdoors as well as you're living indoors. So we provide a healthy amount of outdoor space, and we're very lucky to have that 100-year-old tree in front, because we created a pretty exceptional courtyard, which Shelley Wrench will talk about. We have an exceptional landscape architect, and we'll show you the plans of that. But let's move on to the next slide, please.
Yeah, since we've basically seen this all before,
Yeah.
you can
Okay,
go fairly briefly.
Okay, so this is the front elevation. There's a drop-off point there. You can see the big tree there, and that's the entry back into this courtyard, which is the next slide. And that courtyard has access to the living room, the dining room, and all sorts of other facilities, so they can all come out here. There's outdoor dining. There's a fire pit. There's some other things that are really attractive spaces. The nice part about this is it is sheltered from the sun. So it will be a cooler space, so it's not going to be a very, very hot space in the summertime as we're all experiencing today. Go ahead. This is you can see that fire pit right there and the elevation of the building. We're using shingles. We have integrated that in the same shingle colors and the same material colors and styles as the assisted living across the street. These are some contextual studies. The building on the left is the porch on the assisted living, and that porch actually looks at the Starbucks drive-through exit. In fact, in the morning, everyone sits on that porch and makes comments about people driving through it's great, the Starbucks. But as you can see, our facility is on the right-hand side. There's a rather large sitting area outside, and we have parking under the building. So we don't take up any space on site with parking. You don't have to look at parking all day long. We don't create a heat island with parking. Everything as far as parking goes is happening inside the building. On the first floor, we have a fitness center, and we have parking, and we have our general staffing and kitchen. This is the view from a little bit further back. You can see where the Starbucks is and where that drive-through is, and the front end of our building. So this was a contextual study. I just wanted to show you those, knowing that when we went through our original planning review, we went through and proved how this building contextually met the standards of the existing neighborhood and area.
Hey, John. Diane Butler's got a question.
Sure.
Ms. Butler, you got a question?
Yeah, and it was, if you could flip back to the last slide, that would be terrific.
1 second.
I think this slide does a great job of depicting the differences in the architecture between the two buildings. And I'm wondering, why didn't you go with a consistent theme with what you will already, the existing buildings for assisted living? They're drastically different. I think it looks a little odd personally, but what was the thought process by making them so different?
Actually, this rendering color-wise is correct. The colors are pretty close to the colors of the assisted living, and so are the materials with the shingles. I'm not sure. You have to understand, this all happened and was put together in 2019, okay, and 2020, and so there's been some evolution in terms of the elevations, but the renderings that I showed you from the internal side are pretty much right on in terms of color.
You want me to scoot back to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, John. It's really not the color at all that matters. It's that kind of, I don't know what that roof type is called. It's not mansard, but it's just totally different.
Roof.
Okay, yeah.
It's a mansard roof, and when we went through the project study, since they wouldn't allow us to have any additional height, because we originally had planned it with pitched roofs, they forced us to go with mansards, and as a result of that, we had to saw the building off the top, so to speak.
I got it.
And that pretty much is it, from the front and the back, and that was, we actually thought it would have been much better if we could have bumped the roofs up a little bit, but there is a hard cutoff, I think at 45 feet. And that's where it is.
If there was, if you could get an exception, would you do that and make it fit in so that there's more consistency in the architecture?
I'll put it this way. I'm not unhappy with the way it is right now because the buildings are not the same building. The one building is a residence for seniors, and the other building is assisted living, which requires more care. And one of the reasons it's flatter and more laid out that way is because we're dealing with a lot of non-mobile people, moving them up and down hallways. So I don't mind having two things that aren't exactly the same. The materials will bring the two of them together. And also the two management companies will be the same management company. Sunrise will be managing both these facilities. So, I don't think at this point in time it would serve us to go beyond this because this was what was approved.
Right. I just, it's really inconsistent, and I feel like it's a great opportunity to make something really vibrant. And their comprehensive plan talks about some of those things where you want to make it like a town center feel. And anyway, it lacks that in my opinion, but that was just my comment. And thank you for clarifying why you put the roofs the way you did. It now makes more sense to me.
All right. Thank you. Keep going. So that's a parking garage on the first.
Start on first floor.
Yeah. Well, no, you want to drop down to the first floor plan. So the first floor plan here shows where that courtyard is, and Shelley will get into it in greater detail. But as you can see, up in the upper right side of this plan is all activity space, living rooms, dining rooms, a bar, outdoor meeting rooms, a fitness center, and things like that. And then you have a collection of apartments, and these are not, assisted living units. These are actual apartments. These are, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments that give people a sense of still being in charge of their lives. There's a kitchen in there, but they get 2 meals a day along with the package. This is the first floor. The parking garage is fed off of Bay Village Drive from the back. And we have a number of lobbies in here, but we have 78 parking spaces. Is that correct?
Either 78 or 77.
Yeah, so we have more than enough parking spaces for the seniors who live here.
So I read that, the requirement is 79, and including the street, you've got 86. So you're supplying more than the required. I had a question. I can't remember whether I asked this first time around, but are the spots a la carte? So it's something somebody would pay for if they wanted it, but you don't get something.
Well, the indoor spaces, I think, are part of the payment program, and I believe since the outdoor spaces are attached to us, we have to have those for our guests.
I mean, you have 105 units and not 105 spots, so.
Yeah, at this age, Mr. Klein, not many of these people will still have cars.
No, I understand, but I guess what I was curious is that if you want a parking space that's a la carte, you basically have to pay for it.
Yeah, if you have a car, you're going to pay for it to park it in there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that, because that way, if somebody doesn't have it, they don't have to pay for it.
Oh yeah, no, it's totally a la carte. Go ahead. True. That's the first floor plan again. Keep going, Skip. Trip. And that's the second floor plan, which is all residential. You can see we have 3 elevators around the building, so that you have the vertical connection at all points of entry. The garage entry, the front entry, and the rear entry. So anywhere you come into the building, you can get up and down to your unit very quickly. And that's the third floor. It's the exact same as the floor below. So we have a nice mix of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. This is the shot coming in from right there where the CVS pharmacy is. You can see the Starbucks and our project in the background. And there's that front entry coming in. There's a porte cochere there to drop people off, and a space for people to drop in and out. A number of these people will probably order Ubers. I think it's only $5 to Uber to downtown. And along the rear, we have a large outdoor porch at the back with seating. So it allows people to sit along that street in the back and animate the street a little bit, and also creates a stopping place for people as they walk between the 2 buildings. So that's pretty much the site overview. Turn it over to Shelley.
We're actually going to skip over to Terry Schuman. Before I do, I guess I'd ask one more time, Mr. Chairman, if you or any commissioners have a question for Mr. Grant, we're here to answer them.
Yep, I don't. I'm sure other commissioners will chime in if they do, but thanks.
I'll turn things over to Terry Schuman. Terry's our civil engineer on the project. He was the engineer of the first go around. Terry, do you mind giving your name and address for the record?
Everybody, Terry Schuman with now with Atwell. Probably in the last time I was with Bay Engineering, and now I'm with Atwell, same company that just overtook Atwell for Bay Engineering. So I actually have been on this job since 2004 when we first started. So Bay Village, Bay Village subdivision is with the 4 lots. This is the last lot now being developed. The other 3, the CVS first, then the Starbucks, and then the assisted living. And I just wanted to point out, I guess, from that plan right there, I mean, this is the limit of the city is our 10-acre subdivision here for Bay Village. Everything on the left and the right and the south are in the county. And then the city limits go back on the other side of Bay Ridge Road. So we got Bay Ridge Road on the top, we have Bay Village Drive in the middle of this site, and then that serves the three developed lots, and then our future lot 1 is what we're calling it. Again, our site is 1.8 acres. I'll point out too, the Quantum Sales was not in the original subdivision back in the early 2008 when this first started. That has now been purchased by GSX and eventually will be consolidated with lot 1 and consolidated with Bay Village Drive as now the new lot 1 for this project, which totaled 1.8 acres. Also has an address of 960 Bay Village Drive, and the Quantum Sales is an address of 951 Bay Ridge Road. You can move on to the next one. So a couple things on the existing plan. So in that, the circle up top there, that's the critical root zone for the tree. It's a 52-inch white oak, considered a specimen tree because it's over 30 inches in size. And that, as well as the topo. So the topo goes from about 8-foot elevation difference from Bay Ridge Road down to Bay Village Drive, going down toward Bay Village Drive. So those two features are really what designed that site. We were attempting to save the tree and also working with that topography. So if you go on to the next plan. And that's just an overall plan, and that shaded area there is essentially the building. And from the views from Bay Ridge, it's 3 stories, and from as we said before, it's 3 stories over top of parking garage, and then you access the parking garage off of Bay Village Drive, and that makes up that 8-foot elevation difference between the two. And then you can see the tree there is being preserved, and the building was designed around that. As indicated before, so Bay Village Drive will extend to the property line. We are regrading Bay Village. So if you go out there today, Bay Village Drive is already paved. And in order to, when we were working with Lidl on the connection, it was kind of too steep a grade. So they're gonna have to tear that road up with this application and tear it up a little bit where the entrance is over to the left, and that will be regraded up so the profile of the road will work better with the grades. So we didn't have the connection in mind in the beginning, and now when Lidl came through, we kind of modified that road, and now with the future development of whatever it will be, we'll have a roadway that they can connect to. Moving on to the next plan, that's just a kind of a blow up of a site plan. From this, I just really want to point out we do have an access off of a drop-off access in the front of the site off of Bay Ridge Road. It's a one-way directional, and I think you'll see from the Mead and Hunt study, the traffic study. One of the things they conditioned it on was they didn't want left turns coming out of that, and that whole right in, right out is essentially what that access point will be. We also have an access point down at the bottom. We've said it several times. That'll access the lower level garage. As indicated before, we have 79 spaces are required, and we have 86, 75 in the garage, and then 10 in the 76 in the garage, and then 10 in the surface parking for the site. And those surface parking are essentially for the visitors, as John Grant indicated before.
So on Bay Ridge Road, to prevent the left turn, will there be some road work that puts a barrier in there? And the reason I ask is I hear there's some discussion about changes to that the geometry of that road. Just want to make sure those aren't.
As far as barriers and for this project, no. The county may have a project that puts that in eventually, but we do restrict it with the curbing and making it very difficult to make a left turn out of there. We'll have signage pavement
Okay,
marking.
so you're gonna deal with it just on your property with the
Correct.
curbing and stuff. Okay,
Correct.
thanks.
And we have gone through the county. The county's approved our plans, and we are getting permits from the county as far as that goes. So we have to go to the county for the access point on Bay Ridge Road to that work, and then also providing the trail, continuing the trail. If you're out there, in front of CVS, in front of Starbucks, there's a wider sidewalk, and that'll continue through. We've provided easements and some dedication on easements for the continuation.
So what will the width of the sidewalk be?
I think, hold on a second. I believe it's 8 foot. That sounds right. So plan, I believe it's 8 foot wide.
And that's the same as it was
It
before?
was the same as it was on the other one, yes, on the CVS and Starbucks. The yellow that you see there, just if you notice the yellow are just the 25 foot by 25 foot site triangle easements. I just figured I had to say that because some people might want to know what that yellow means. So that was just something that the city commented on, and we were making sure that we didn't have any landscape restrictions on the access points. You can move on. That's just a grading plan in more detail. And I think you could probably move on to the next slide. Just gonna kind of go to the stormwater if you want.
Keep going.
Well, yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. Yeah, let's leave it there. And answer Ms. Wagner's comments. So yeah, lot 1R has been designed using ESD or environmentally sensitive site design to the maximum extent practical, or the MEP. So we did ESD to the MEP. Everything is classified as new development for this site, and we included the quantum sales when we did our stormwater, and really the stormwater has not changed. It does meet the 125% requirement, and we are proposing 4 surface microbiome areas around the site. We have an urban planter box that's up against the building that treats the runoff from some of the rooftop. We have some permeable pavement, at least on the pavement, on the parking spaces off of Bay Ridge, or Bay Village Drive, I'm sorry. And then we have a Filterra device, which is essentially an ESD device accepted by the state in Bay Village Drive as well, that treats runoff. And then we have our green roof areas that Shelley will show you a little bit more, and kind of the shaded areas in the middle there that'll treat the rooftop for water treatment. So those are all our ESD devices. And then we also have an underground quantity storage in the garage. It's called the Filterra box. And that, along with the treatment in the overall pond for the project, we will meet all the county and the city requirements and go beyond the state requirements with the city requirements for 125% ESD devices.
Ms. Butler, do you have a question?
Yes, sorry to interrupt again, but this is a great slide to ask you the question. Can you talk about the Filterra box and how that works?
Yeah, the Filterra box is, I guess, in simple terms, it's a stormwater in a box. It's an inlet, and it provides materials, compost and soil materials that the runoff goes into the inlet, gets treated. And if you've seen a Filterra box, it has a tree on the outside growing out of the top. And the tree and the materials in the box treat the runoff.
Okay, great. And then I guess this question is probably for John, not you, Terry, but we have had an experience in the city where a lot of these stormwater best management practices aren't maintained. And we didn't put a condition in the conditions that I reviewed that we'll probably talk about later don't contain any specifics about the fact that Bay Village Suites will maintain those stormwater practices. But it's super important that we include something like that, because we, as a city, are having more and more of these sites, and things like the green roofs that aren't kept up. That really does impact our ability to get our MS4 permits. So I'm just asking if John specifically would manage if we put a condition in our in whatever we do that talks about that.
Before John answers, can I just, I mean, we will have a stormwater management maintenance agreement that the city implements and requires the owner to sign, and that kind of lays out that the responsibility of maintenance is on the owner. And
Right.
the city has over the years now, I've gathered some inspectors. I mean, they're doing a lot better job on inspections and making sure that these owners are staying on top of their stormwater and using those stormwater maintenance agreements to implement that. So I think measures are in. John, you can answer beyond that, but I mean, there are measures already in place with the city to make sure that happens.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead,
think-
John, and I do think
I
it's
think
probably
it's part of
enforcement
the-
more than anything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's also part of our permit that we're required to do it. So,
Mhm.
that's part of it. I could actually turn it over to Clyde because they'll be managing the building, but if you would take a look at our existing building across the street there, I mean, we have kept up with all those management, all the stormwater management issues for the last 8 years. And, it's important to us that the properties look good and that and the systems work. Otherwise, you get a flood in there and we could really destroy the property by having water inside the garage or in the first floor of the building, right?
Right, and I know this is designed for a 10-year rainfall event, and we get more than that now. So I'm just very concerned, but glad that you're, going to have
We're
an
all in
agreement in place.
for good practices. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Yeah, I think we presented this last time at the hearing, and I wanted to just show overall, so you can see the shaded area is our site, lot 1. You see that I marked up the Starbucks, CVS, the fire station, and the overall project or the overall drainage area line for that goes down to the 27-inch pipe that goes underneath Arundel on the Bay Road, and then that discharges through the park and then across Bay Ridge, and then essentially goes out to Lake Ogleton and then the Severn River. So one of the things that this drainage area is 31 acres that comes down to that 27-inch crossing in Arundel and the Bay Road, and that was originally designed at a 10-year flow, and that's what we managed back down to. So and also passing the 100, and it's a pretty big pond out there, and that handles the quantity part, and then each of the sites handled the 125% ESD requirements. So CVS has their own, Starbucks has their own, the assisted living has their own board ESD devices, and then Bay Village Lot 1. And certainly further, beyond that in the county, if, anything they design out there would have to manage their part too, because it's all ultimately going down through the pond and out to that Arundel on the Bay Road. So I thought it was a good slide just to show you the overall stormwater management aspects.
And if I can point out our phase 1 project, and we actually put all the parking, at least 90% of it, under the building. And that reduced the carbon footprint, and that also reduced the stormwater requirements for the project so much that we contributed an environmental easement of like 4 acres to the city of Annapolis behind it for walking trails. So, I mean, we're very concerned about that kind of thing. It makes a better environment. We're really, we're trying to produce some sort of wonderful environment for seniors. And so it's important that they don't have to worry about, floods and things that back up. And we're going to be making sure this thing runs and looks great forever.
And I'll touch on, you mentioned, forest conservation. So this project does meet all the forest conservation requirements for the city. The hatched area, basically to the south of the assisted living facility, that whole hatched area is a forest conservation easement. Those were all protected wooded areas on the site. With this final development here, we will have some street trees. We'll count towards some mitigation, and then there's some replanting on the side of Bay Village Drive that will fulfill the requirements for the forest conservation. So,
and just to put a finer point on it, you're not asking for any variances in the forest conservation.
No, everything was met on site, and
we never have.
Yep.
Yeah, correct. I just wanted to
Yeah, no.
People listening to know that.
Mhm.
And I have one more question on the forest conservation easement. Again, will the developer take responsibility for maintaining that easement?
Yeah, there's also an easement that's been recorded, and yes, they are, yes.
Okay,
Those are
because
usually-
what we're finding now is a lot of invasive species are taking over our little conservation easements all over the city, and we have like 110 acres in conservation easements, and we literally don't have the person power to go get the invasives out. And so we're looking to the actual property owners to maintain those urban forests.
Yep, understood.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This letter, so we I think about 2 years ago, we had Holyoke Holyoke Consultants, local arborist. And he did the forest mitigation plan for the preserving the existing tree out there, the white oak. And a couple of years ago, we had him go out there, get an update on the condition of the tree. And then we followed up again most recently, because we knew we were coming to this hearing and wanted to show another site visit and analysis of the tree. And from this letter, which I believe you've entered into the documents, the tree is in good condition. The underbrush and vines have been removed from the tree, and the tree's canopy is in full growth. No dieback was noted, so the tree has retained good form. So happy to say that the tree's been doing very well over the last couple of years. So
We've been spending money to maintain it ever since we bought the property.
So that was the purpose of that letter.
I'm going to skip to the tree protection plan.
You can, yeah.
Bear with me, Mr. Chairman.
I think in our set of plans, and part of the grading permit is a tree protection plan, and that again, Holyoke prepared this plan and certified to it. It just gives the measures for the construction team to make sure it'll be a big part of the pre-con and getting ready to build and making sure this tree is well preserved.
Yeah, we went through that in a lot of detail first time around. So appreciate your keeping that all the same.
Yep.
Last but not least, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Ms. Shelley Wrench to touch on some landscape architectural features. Again, these are the same plans that were originally submitted. I'll try to keep it brief. Shelley, you want to tell us what we're looking at?
Yeah, thank you, Trip. This is an illustrative site-wide landscape plan. It illustrates that we've maximized every square foot of opportunity to plant within the site. The architectural design and civil engineering and all the planning created this amazing opportunity for a very large garden courtyard, really the heart of the project, the heart of the program for the project, and the visual heart of the project. So the garden courtyard, which is really enveloped by the building, is roughly about 60 by 120 feet. It's not a rectangle, but it gives you a sense of scale. So it's quite large. And all of the edges of the courtyard are custom curved precast benches. So there'll be a lot of linear seating all around the edges of the open space in the courtyard. And those seat walls will have integrated wood seating benches that will, I think, soften up those the feel of the space. I'm pretty excited about the paving of the courtyard because instead of using a hard paver, we've selected a natural wood modular paver, which will create a much softer environment. Start to talk about, in a second, we'll just start to talk about the theme of Annapolis and the Maritime. You can see around the tree, we've had to hold back all the planting off the critical root zone at the request of the city, but all the area that we can plant is heavily planted with ferns and other natives. And I think, honestly, over the years, some of those ferns will probably creep in under the tree, but that's sort of future reference. The street trees on Bay Ridge Road are London plane trees, which, as you know, get a very broad crown, which I think is appropriate for a road of that scale and speed. And then, as Terry mentioned, on the east and the west side of the building, there's integrated stormwater planters. And then on Bay Village Drive, we've essentially planted out as much as possible. So I guess go to the next slide. I think the upper left image really captures what we're doing in the courtyard, probably the best aside from John's amazing renderings, where you have the flowing curved walls, there's seating walls, but they're also serving as the planter walls. So we're having to establish enough planting soil for full depth planting. We've got some crepe myrtles and a lot of different woody shrubs and herbaceous plants. We also have a community herb garden and some other kitchen gardens, some small plots, but around the grilling area, which I should have mentioned earlier, actually opens directly to the interior dining. So the interior uses and the courtyard uses are integrated. I think it's really going to have a lot of activity just because it's pulling all these different uses together, and we'll have such a kind of generous perimeter planting. And then I guess you could go to the next slide. I mean, this is a technical planting plan, but you can, if anybody cares to get into what every last plant is, it's all here. As I said, we've maximized every square foot of planting that was available. And most of it's irrigated with the exception of where it's the stormwater management planters on the sort of sidewalls of the building. Which when you're on structure, as you know, you really need to do to keep things healthy because the whole system is designed to be well drained. Actually, this courtyard planting plan, you can see the slightly darker shaded areas along the planter walls. Those are all the wood benches that are on the tops of those planter walls. They'll be, you can sit on the entire planter walls. We wanted to have the wood option because it's just softer and kind of integrated with the approach to paving. And then that one sort of floating circle in the courtyard is a 6-foot diameter Corten steel fire pit that will just create sort of a center point of use.
And wintertime, it'll be great.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be, I think there's going to be people out here all the time. And you can actually walk, right off the edge of the courtyard, out towards where the big tree is also. There's no wall or fence there. And then the next slide, I think we already went through this, the tree protection plan, and the last slide, the last graphic, I think, John, is the closure slide, but this gives you a sense of how active we anticipate the courtyard being, and people doing all different kinds of things, enjoying the garden, enjoying the space, enjoying being together.
And that was the idea behind the entire Bay Village Seniors Projects. I mean, it's really creating a great community for seniors and at a level with indoor and outdoor space that Annapolitans really are used to, and we'd love to provide for them. Speak to so that's what the project's about.
Diane, you have a question?
Yes, sorry. Shelley, great job. I like the way this looks. It really shows some of the things I was hoping to see. And for some reason in the presentation that we got online, we could not see a couple of slides. And I recall this nice living space community area, but it was good to see it again, because again, for some reason we were missing some of these slides that we were presented with. But would you, I'm not a fan of crepe myrtles, they're not native. Would you have any aversion to substituting a native plant or native trees where you have crepe myrtles planted?
No, I mean, we could swap that out for different, understory native trees. As
redwoods,
there's
redbud.
There's redbuds, there's dogwoods. All these different plants have pros and cons, but I'm sure the project team wouldn't mind swapping out, 3 of those key trees. Those trees, because we didn't want to overburden the courtyard with too many heavy, large trees for kind of obvious reasons. Those 3 trees would be, carefully selected because they need to be specimens. So we can certainly focus on making sure those are brought in high quality.
Okay, thanks. Again, it looks really nice. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I've got one last slide that I had skipped over on my way to Shelley.
Okay.
It is just a copy of that Mead and Hunt certification of the traffic impact analysis for the
Yep, we have that in our package. Yep.
Okay, great. It's here included. I didn't want you guys, I was purposefully skipping over it. The applicants don't choose the consultants. I think the city does, but This is the item that Mr. Meekins was referencing earlier, and it's included among your guys' package. So with that, I'll turn it over to John in case you have any parting words, but if not, Mr. Klein, we're here to answer any additional questions the commissioners may have.
Well, this is a project that we want to do for a long time, and because of COVID and because the seniors marketplace was in shambles for the last 4 years, we couldn't get the project moving. With the help of Sunrise as our new partner, it's been amazing, and everything has been moving forward on this project. So we'd like to build it and complete the community. And I put that back to you guys. If you could help us get this thing underway right now, we'd love to get this under construction in the fall. All the drawings basically are in planning and zoning. And I think, Terry, you're pretty close to a grading permit, right?
Yes.
So we'd love to move this thing. It'll create a lot of jobs, and it will create both in construction and ongoing in operations.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. Any commissioners have additional questions before we move into the public hearing?
I have a question about the timeline. If you're able to get everything in place and start construction in the fall, what's your timeline for completion of the project?
It'll be 18 to 24 months. And we can provide that to you guys. We will provide that to you guys. We're going to dig out we have to excavate and put that parking garage under it. And we have to do a very careful job of sheeting around the ball of that tree to make sure the tree is preserved. So it's not going to be the fastest process in the world, but it's going to be a very careful process. And we have a great building group to do the project. So we're pretty excited about it.
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Okay, great. So at this point, I will open the public hearing, and Madeline, please bring forward. It looks like we have 1 or 2 people who want to testify. Can you bring the first person up? And while you're doing that, and I'll reiterate, we'd like to keep public comments to a few minutes. We did receive the written comments, I think, for people who are going to testify, so there's no need to read them, into the record. We those are already part of the record. So please be brief and summarize your comments.
Mr. Chair, just double checking. Do they need to have video on, or can it just be audio?
I'm fine with just audio.
Okay, great. Anastasia, I'm giving you the ability to unmute yourself and give your testimony.
Okay, am I on board?
Yep, we hear you.
Thank you very much. I thank you all for a wonderful presentation. I represent the Annapolis Neck Peninsula Federation, and we convene various communities to review the development plans for the Bay Village Independent Living. And have participated for, I think it's been more than a decade with various plans and designs for phase 1 and phase 2. The basic premise of our concern right now is for this application is that we've identified some deficiencies. We continue to support the Bay Village development and would appreciate the Planning Commission's direction and leadership as the project moves forwards, especially in the domains of urban center design, some of the comments made this afternoon, traffic and stormwater management. We're not opposing any development. We're supporting this mixed-use design because we think it creates an attractive community, but we want to address problems of growth. It is a very different world in 2026 than it was in 2022. And we are very concerned, I can't emphasize that more, with traffic on Bay Ridge Road and Forest Drive. I have no clue what a recertification of 4, actually probably 6-year-old traffic study means. So I continue to be concerned about traffic issues. The original traffic study indicated very marginal increase in traffic due to this development, and we hope that's accurate. But I just want to lay that on the table. We're really concerned about traffic in this area of the city, and that is only going to increase. The other issue we had was with stormwater management, but that information was not available to us. So I don't understand what how you're addressing it. We weren't pleased with the way it was to have been addressed years ago, and you seem to have come up with something. We have no comment. I have no comment to that. But I do want to comment about the availability of information. We as citizens always struggle to get information. The city of Annapolis is doing an outstanding job of making information available to citizens. When I went to the portal called CSS last week, there was nothing on the site for Bay Village Independent Living. I contacted Mr. Meakin and last week and early this week, I got a return call from someone who works for boards and commissions, Nikki Marquis, and she helped me get to some of the documents, but they were not complete. There's still documents being dropped onto that site. This is a very serious concern. We worked diligently to respond to what information was available and to shape our insights and opinions on what we currently know, but there's so much we just don't know. So I am very concerned with that the failure to get information to the public. And it is inaccurate, Mr. Fulton, to say that just like you, we could get the information available to us just on our desk. We live in a different world. We're the public. We have to go get it. Nobody delivers it to us. So the city's doing a great job, and I know it'll improve. And I'm happy to hear Mr. Meakin say that. But it has been very difficult for us to review these the data for this project. So I thank you for the information you provided. We'll continue to be engaged in the process and hope to guide outcomes. We understand change is inevitable, but we will participate with whatever happens, whoever shows up, and whatever concept they bring.
Yeah, well, thank you for those comments, and clearly you get my attention with the availability of information. That's something that I think we have over the years have all struggled with based on the city systems and processes. But we've seen in the new administration a lot of headway in addressing those. So I think that's a good sign. Hey, great. So we have the next, we have one more person, Madeline, or?
We sure do. Rob, I'm giving you the ability to unmute yourself and give your testimony.
Thanks. Just please, when you get unmuted, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, good evening. My name is Rob Grieve. I live on 1028 Harbor Drive. And I really appreciate what we've heard today, this evening. But this is the first time we've heard it. So, and also there's only about, the shortfall is this particular project, there are no residents that live within 400 feet. So either city or county. So the shortfall is we haven't gotten this information out to the public. And when they see that this project has been approved, there'd be a lot of questions asked. So we need to have a pause to figure out how we're going to get this information public. Now, I've been with this project. I don't know whether you can see. No, you don't have me turned on. Anyway, I have the same I have the drawings from, I've been working with this project also since about 2018, especially with Lille. And so we have a lot of history. The reason that they bought the property, and I won't go into all the rest of it, but we owe it to get a message out. And additionally, what you posted today was not posted on site relative to the design of the facility. What we saw was just a set of side drawings. So I compliment you. That interior of the building, I'm 85 years old. I'd love to go over there. Can I use the restaurant? Is that going to be another public restaurant, or is there going to be a private restaurant? Anyway, that's a big plus, and it will be really appreciated. Yeah. Also, in closing, we remain available. This group, Annapolis NEC, and we have a lot of expertise, and we have a lot of expertise in stormwater. Another big issue is stormwater. There's 151 anyway, there's a large quantity of water that flows into Lake Ogleton and out to the bay. Every single project, when this particular project is finished, is going to be more, not less, because it's not being absorbed. So we have to consider that in our planning. Stormwater runoff is an issue as we move forward. That's the end of my comments. And again, thank you very much for what you do, all doing in helping the community.
Great. Thank you very much for those comments. Appreciate it. And so I think that is the end of the live testimony. We received two other comments, and all four of those comments are now part of the public record of this project. So at this point, I will declare the public hearing closed, and so that brings us to our deliberations part of the program here. So I will open it up to the floor to hear the commissioner's thoughts on this. We can just go. You can either raise your hands, or we can just go around based on who I see in the square, in the Hollywood Square. Is that if you guys just want to raise your hands, why don't you go ahead and start out? Don't be shy. Mr. Riley.
Unmute myself there. I appreciate everybody's comments, certainly the public testimony. It seems to me, this project was already approved, kind of summarizing some of what some of you know a lot better than I do, but having gone back and read through the original application and the staff report, the comments from Mr. Meekins, Mr. Lashinsky, it seems to me that not much has changed. I appreciate the public comment. I think that the concerns that came out of public comment for me were more about access to the information and being updated on the reapplication. I think that the applicant and the staff have done an adequate job of providing updates that are consistent with the original application, where, with the Mead and Hunt report on traffic, which was just recent. So though they did it 6 years ago, obviously they're not going to put their name on it unless if they've reconsidered and reassessed that situation. The staff has determined that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. The adequacy of facilities is still valid. So I don't see any reason to get in the way of approving this. I don't see much has changed, though I do appreciate all the public comment. And that's one of the bigger things, I guess, as a commission and as the city we can take out of this. But I would hope that they learned as much as we did today. And me supporting this is not flying in the face of anybody's concerns that they brought up today. I just don't think that anything gets in the way of me supporting this.
Great, thanks. Who's next?
I'll just second what Mr. Riley said. I hear the issues. I think that when it comes to public information and getting that out there, I want to second what everyone else is saying, but I would say that that's maybe a recommendation that we double down on to the city council, that they should change the rules for it. That way it's more consistent across the board. But yeah, double down. Everything that Mr. Riley said, nothing is getting in the way of me saying that I'm in favor of this project.
Great, thanks. Mr. Bellamy, looks like you're ready to go.
Well, I thank everyone who reported today on this, particularly the public comments. And I have a question. The last gentleman who from the public who testified made an interesting point. He said there aren't residents who live within 400 feet of the planned development. Is there a responsibility to go broader in terms of notification to people who live in the outer area about this proposal, because they will be affected, during the construction and also once the project is completed. And I'd like to go back to as I mentioned earlier in our meeting about the concerns I appreciated hearing from the public comments about the traffic. I just find it kind of difficult to believe that the traffic pattern is less than it was. I don't know about you all. When you're out on the road, since things have cleared up from COVID, and with the flexibility in work hours and some hybrid work and all that, it seems like there's a lot of more traffic all times during the day. I know when I go out, there are cars everywhere, much so than it was 2 or 3 years ago. And I just have a question about the whole traffic issue that I don't know if it could be addressed in addition to the May 26th report. But otherwise, I think this development is going to add a lot to the community. I think it's a great project. I think it's well designed and offers a lot of amenities, both for the residents. And I think it was said that the public can use some of the facilities on site, like the restaurant and so forth. But otherwise, I would be in support of it.
Great, thanks. Either Diane or Tom wants to go next.
I'll hop in. My major concern really is the notice requirement. We seem to have violated our own rule by providing the public with the documents for review 7 days in advance. I'm not sure we got them a full 7 days in advance. Mike, I'm not sure if your staff report came in 7 days in advance.
It did. It did. Everything.
Your staff, and then were the documents also posted? Because one of the people who were the public just testified that they weren't able to access the documents that were all posted in support of this application.
So the documents that you received 7 days in advance of this hearing were also posted 7 days on the website. I dumped the entire submission package today, but the documents were posted. The notifications were sent out, the property was posted, and all of the comments, the cutoff time for the comments is 12 noon the day of the hearing, and those 4 comments were posted.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I was under the misimpression that we did not get the documents to the public within that 7-day period, but I'm glad you clarified that we did.
I think what I heard was some of the renderings that were presented tonight were not included in the original submission, but there were renderings that were included, and I think that might have been a reference made to those.
And all the stormwater calculations, because I do know the ANPF people understand stormwater pretty well. And that's the kind of stuff they were looking for. And you're saying that stuff was on the website as well?
Not 7 days prior, but it is on the website now. And you know, I am in past cases, not necessarily with the Planning Commission, with the Board of Port Wardens and the Board of Appeals. People have reached out to me directly to ask specific questions, and I have been more than happy to share information and email plans and so on and so forth.
No, thank you. And you've been extremely helpful with us. And I agree with my colleagues that the city is doing a better job getting information out to the public. So thanks for clarifying that. I do worry that the surrounding neighborhoods don't know much about this project right now because of the fact that they don't have to get notice because they're over 400 feet from the project. But I know it's been posted. I know everyone knows something's going on here. So, you know, I'm not going to vote against this based on notice, but I just wanted to, well, thank you for clarifying that the notice or that the documents were on the website and available. The other comments I would have just have to do with the forest conservation maintenance agreement. I would add, if we vote on this, I would well, maybe Alex, I should wait till we vote for my motions.
Well, I think we can talk about that when we have a motion on the table.
Okay, let's do that. So
okay,
let Tom finish up.
Yeah, Mr. Fulton, just sit tight.
Yeah, I remember this one from the first time around. I think it's a great project. I think it serves the community. It's been approved and not much has changed, so I'm in full support.
Okay, thanks. Again, as I mentioned last time, one of the benefits of going last is I can echo many things my colleagues have said. You know, I like this project. I liked it the first time around, and I think it's well done. And just a couple of comments on the design. I actually appreciate the fact that the buildings don't all look the same. They rhyme based on materials, that it makes it not look monolithic like it was some big planned thing that was all plopped down there. It makes it look more incremental, but you know, the designs are different, but the material's the same. And I actually appreciate that. You know, and so with respect to the process, I don't find that we've violated any of the letter of the law. You know, I think there's a lot of room for improvement in terms of how we make materials available. You know, as I mentioned earlier, part of the process is the self-service portal is you know, a little clunky from a citizen perspective. One thing you really need to know, and I don't know who knows this and who doesn't, but if you're not logged in, you don't see any attachments. So that could be you know, some confusion. I don't know about in this particular case, but in general, if you're not logged in, you don't see the attachments. You have to have created an account, and when you're logged in, you can see those attachments, which is, you know, sort of the meat of the stuff. But you know, given that the plans are largely identical to what was approved before, and the staff report that has been available for a significant amount of time essentially says that, you know, it's nothing new. You know, I think we have done we meaning the city have done their job to the letter of the law here. So you know, I don't think I'm not gonna raise any questions more than we've discussed, other than just to say that I think we need to do a better job. We can always do a better job at getting information out to people. I had one other comment that I think is interesting about the fact that these are essentially rental apartments is, you know, we are eventually going to have a cresting of the silver wave, as it were, where you know, the large number of retirees and elderly people, you know, eventually will decrease because that's where the demographics are. And I know that because I'm sort of on the tail end of that in my age. I think, you know, this is a development that eventually could, you know, maybe not be age restricted once there are not, because there's a lot of new retirement communities here in Annapolis, and eventually there won't be people to fill them, and it'll hopefully get repurposed as something else. And I think it's well suited to do that. So I think that's a good thing. So I'm in full support, and so at this point, I would entertain a motion to approve the application as written. Does anybody want to make that motion? I think
Motion
that's
to
where
approve.
we've been. Okay, so we have Quentin makes that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is that Tom?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So discussion. So there any discussion on what we may, for the record, add to the opinion? I think that's where you were kind of going, Diane. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to, unless I'm missing it, I'd like to add to the recommendations for approval. Number 8 talks about landscape maintenance agreement, but I don't think that it's not as broad as it could be. So I would submit that we add a condition that says the applicant will enter into a forest conservation maintenance agreement approved by planning and zoning and the Office of Law. And then a second one will be that the applicant will enter into a stormwater maintenance agreement approved by planning and zoning and the Office of Law. Just to make it doubly clear, triply clear.
Well, okay, so we have that additional motion on the table here, and I think do we have a second for let's address well, I mean, I think maybe we can do those together because they are quite similar. So we have a motion to put these two conditions in there. Does
Chair
anybody want?
Klein,
Yeah.
you could offer that, she could offer it as a friendly amendment to his motion, and it could just become part of it
Okay.
if he accepts it, and then you could just have one.
Do you accept that addition,
Yes.
Quentin, to your motion?
Oh,
Sure.
Okay, so it's all
Okay.
one motion now.
All right.
Yep.
Well, so in discussion, so just to finish off the discussion, I just want to make sure that that's not gonna cause anybody to vote no.
Is the stormwater requirement already part of the city regulation?
It is, yes. I
Why
mean,
do-
both of those are, but this is,
Why do we need them in?
Oh, because there's no, maybe I'm not seeing it, but I don't see a direct mandate that the maintenance agreement be entered into. And it's the maintenance agreement that's the problem, because we often have these great conditions, but they're not being potentially enforced, or I should just say there's maintenance for stormwater that often doesn't get done after the development is complete. Same thing with conservation easements for the forests that we preserve around these developments. It seems to fall through the cracks. But if there's an agreement we can go back to and say, you entered into this agreement as part of the conditions of approval, we'll have much more power in making sure they take care of their stormwater maintenance facilities, their BMPs, and their trees.
I got it, the maintenance aspect. Okay, okay, I'm cool.
yeah, it add, the idea, I think, is to add some, make sure there's teeth in being able to
Enforceability.
enforce this.
Okay, understood.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in support of that. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, Ms. Wood, do you have a comment? Oh, okay. So where we are is we have that motion on the table, seconded with those friendly amendments. So I'm ready to call for a vote. So I think we can just do this as a voice vote. We don't have to go around, but all in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Any abstentions? Okay, great. It passes unanimously, 6-0. So congratulations to the team, and so we're now out of your way, and good luck with the rest of the permitting, and look forward to seeing things get built.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, commissioners and council.
All righty.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. All
Thanks,
right,
Mike.
that brings us to the second item on our agenda. We're going to talk about 01126, allowing long-term rental units in private homes. So Lexus Robinson from the Department of Planning and Zoning is going to walk us through that. And so the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Alexis Robinson, Senior Comprehensive Planner with the city's Department of Planning and Zoning. Filling in for, well, I wrote the staff report, so I guess I'm here on my own behalf. All right, so the ordinance 01126 proposes a rental license to be added to the code to permit rooming houses or long-term rentals in private rooms of homes that are occupied by the owner. Our position on this is to, co-living is not something that is unusual or unknown to people of Annapolis, with student housing and other living dynamics in the city, people who may live with extended family, people who may live with friends, with significant others, people that they're not related to. This is something that is common. And so we see that, it could be necessary if someone were to pursue a rental agreement with someone to rent a room in their home with access to other amenities in the home, such as the kitchen, living room, shared spaces, driveway. They may also want to pursue having a rental license to be in good standing with the city. Currently, the rental license, regulations are, you can rent out a dwelling. It does not necessarily bar the owner of the home from living in the home. You do not have to provide a rental agreement with your rental license. So there's no way for us to currently check to see who and how the people who are living within a home are related, or who a rental agreement is between. One of the things that inspectors during a rental license inspection do look for, though, is the lock on a door that may prevent egress during a fire or any kind of emergency, but also locks on bedrooms that are a key characteristic of rooming houses that have been removed from our zoning code and are not currently permitted.
So can I ask a quick question about that?
Yeah.
So in reading the staff report, 03008 was repealed, repealed the use because licenses weren't being issued. So just to clarify, it's currently illegal now in the city of Annapolis to rent a room and or to live, basically to have a roommate. Is that the correct understanding?
No. So it also gets kind of to the delicacies of how you're determining a rooming house. Going through the staff report, I looked at a few different definitions for a rooming house and also tried to find what our previous ordinance did allow. And basically what the previous zoning code had as the definition for rooming house was a room that someone had access to with or without the provision of meals. But that did not necessarily mean that they had access to like a living room, kitchen. It was just, here's your room, you are in and out. And so, and those can and cannot come with like separate entrances. And so that is what is exactly not currently allowed. Our rental licenses currently does not look at who is related to who, how they came upon living with each other. It generally, that inspection process looks at how many bedrooms, how many beds, how many, are the living conditions up to the building code. And, but the only like characteristic is that key to a bedroom, the key lock on a bedroom door that is indicative of a rooming house or a boarding house. So our rental license procedure currently does not bar people from having or roommates, or does our building code in general. So if someone is building a home and getting an occupancy permit, we're not asking for marriage licenses and birth certificates.
So also with us today is Alderman Brooke Schalemeyer, who is the sponsor of this legislation, and we've asked him to be here. And if you want to expand on any of these, and certainly some of the commissioners, and I know I do, may have some questions about the intent here.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this legislation came about because one of my neighbors was trying to rent out a couple rooms in her house, and when she reached out to planning and zoning, she was informed that this was prohibited because it was classified as a rooming house if she were to do that. She lives in the home. She is a retired senior, and yeah, she's a retired senior, just needs it for a little extra income. And yeah, we already know that this is a very common way for folks to get shelter.
Yeah, we
It makes a
all
whole lot
know
of
people who do that, whether it's on book or off book.
yeah, and when I learned that this is prohibited through the city's code, I thought it was absolutely absurd. So trying to bring it to light.
Yeah, so
happy to answer any questions.
in reading over, I'm just still a little confused here because so we have these two concepts of a rooming house and a shared rental with roommates. And to me, those are sort of two different things. And maybe I don't know what the right way to differentiate them is. I originally thought about it's maybe a scale issue or it's a formality issue. I don't really know, but the sort of the situation where the share rental room with roommates is the one that I think is probably most common, where you've got a condo, and I know a number of people who have bought a condo and have 3 bedrooms, but they're single, so they rent the other 2 bedrooms, and that those 2 people sort of do Venmo once a month or however they pay. That they may or may not have a written agreement. It's just, they have these sort of maybe informal rules about, who does the dishes and all that kind of nuts and bolts stuff. That to me sounds like a shared rental with roommates. Or
in my conversations with the law office, my understanding of shared rental and roommates is you and I want to rent an apartment together. You get bedroom A, I get bedroom B, and we split the rent down the middle, or because whatever arrangement that we have. And that's kind of the rub. So that's
there's
how the
no
law office
in that case there's no owner there.
Correct.
It's all everybody's sort of on equal footing as rentals, as a renter.
That's how the law office explained it and made me understand it.
And that's
There's
legal
a lot of
now?
layers. There's a lot of layers to cut through in our city code to try and legalize and make these various things easier.
Yeah.
This one bill's just cutting through one little piece of that tape.
And so what you're really addressing here is the rooming house, where essentially somebody owns the property and has whether they live there or not. I guess you're suggesting that they would have to live there. The owner would have to live there, and then they rent out the rooms. And so am I correct that it doesn't really matter the formality of it? Like, they don't have to have a formal lease agreement. It can be a handshake, or that doesn't really matter in terms of the code.
How law explained it is if you're renting out the rooms, you can't do it. And in this case, it's owner occupied specifically. Something that was interesting is a woman who wanted to actually create a non-owner occupied rental house reached out to me because she thought this bill might legalize her situation. And while I think that is also a great idea, I don't want to complicate this bill further. So put that in the later problems basket. But yeah,
So
what
I have
this
a quick
does is,
question.
yep.
I have a quick question. So, how about like halfway houses, things of that nature, where people rent homes, rent rooms to recovering addicts? I mean, does that fall into any of this? Because there's a lot of houses in the city that rooms are rented for that.
I got one of them is one of my neighbors. I don't think this touches that. So
Yeah,
Okay.
those are a different use. They're their own use as a group home, I think is the
Right,
term.
group homes are excluded from some of our other regulations on rental licenses.
Okay.
Yeah, so thanks, Alderman Channelmeyer, for sort of clarifying the intent there. I'm still confused by reading through the legislation though, so maybe it's a drafting issue. That I'm just it just seems complicated, and there's one, I do have one concern about the licensing. I don't know what's involved in the inspections and the licensing, but and I don't mean to be insulting to anybody who does this work, but we tend to be a little heavy-handed and stuff like that. And I think if the process is heavy, people are just gonna do it off book, because that's the way it generally goes. And so while I totally support the idea of this, like the ADUs, if you make the process so heavy that nobody's going to do it, then why are we doing it? So I don't know if the licensing requirements in the inspection requirements are not really part of this. But I'm worried about creating a problem creating an additional problem that prevents us from being useful.
if this committee wants to make a recommendation that this bill gets simplified to the point where it just says this is allowed, I won't mind. This is complicated by lawyers in the law office, not me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be simplified, and I do agree. Anyway, well, we'll wait to the deliberations on that. Anybody else have comments for Ms. Robinson or Alderman Channelmeyer?
Yeah, I'll just add that I agree. I think that this happens all the time. People do it all the time, and the simpler we can make it, the better. I think that if we have a lot of local government intervention in this, same as what Mr. Pline said, people are going to do it off the books. People have already been doing it off the books. Let's just legalize it.
Yeah, this one's a no-brainer for me. If I own the house and I'm living in the home and I want to rent my home to my cousin or something, that should be my prerogative to be able to do so. I think that somebody who doesn't have that, I totally understand the, if you create a rooming house designation and if there's no owner occupied, then it would create, a lot more opportunity for investors to come in and that would kind of change the landscape. But in this particular instance, I'm with you, Brooks. I mean, I just think you'd make it simple. It just seems like something that kind of got, I don't know, lost or tripped over along the way. I don't think it needs to be super complicated. I'm with Alex. I don't think the enforcement side is ever going to be there because we just don't have the resources for something like that.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said, and in particular, the inspections and enforcement seems like a lot of burden to put on our staff, and and I think people won't apply because they just won't. It's going to be burdensome and it won't happen. So somehow it either simplified or just drop the bill altogether.
So before we go any further, any other questions for Alderman Chandlemeyer?
I have a question actually. So, what you all are discussing is to add to the description of a rental license that rentals can be owner occupied and that the bedrooms may have key locks.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that when we sort of start deliberating. But point I want to make here is that if we don't have any more questions for Alderman Chandlemeyer, I'd ask that he go back to the back room so we can deliberate freely and move on if everybody is comfortable that we've asked the questions we need to do.
Yeah, I also vote into the Keep It Simple coalition.
Okay, anyway, so thanks, Alderman Chandlemeyer. Appreciate your input in helping us with the intent there. So anyway, Madeline, if you could take Alderman Chandlemeyer back to the back room, I appreciate that. Okay, so I know we already crossed the line into sort of deliberating here, but I just think it's important that we have just us in the immediate room for deliberations, because for those of you who are relatively new here, it's gotten out of hand before. So I'm just trying to sort of be very particular about that. So anyway, I think the question. So now, has everybody sort of said what they feel on this? Do you want to? Anybody else want to have a chance to say what they think?
I mean, there's a couple details in here. Details that like, should they have, if I own the house and I live in a home and I want to rent my home to anybody I want to, that should be my prerogative, whether I have a lease with them, whether I put a lock on their door, whether or not I allow them to use my kitchen or my front porch. I just feel like that should be my prerogative or the homeowners. If it would be different if we were allowing investors to rent their home to, for St. John's students. I think that's a different, and I know we already have, some provisions for that. So that I don't know. I also don't think that, you could make an argument that suddenly this is going to make for more affordable housing and teachers and firemen can suddenly live in the city. If people have been doing this anyway, I don't think that suddenly this is going to create this amazing windfall of opportunity for the comprehensive plan. So I don't see the point, I guess.
Tom, do you have a comment?
I was pretty much going to say the same thing. I mean, if someone owns the home and they want to rent their rooms, I think it's their prerogative to do so. I'm surprised we're even, that this is even a thing.
Yeah, so I think the challenge here is, what do we want to say?
As far as enforcement though, I mean, I think the only thing would be that you show that you are owner occupied. I mean, other than that, I don't think there should be any regulation, but just that that nobody's kind of, doing what Steve said, where they're just taking a house and, stuffing people in it. But as long as you can prove that you're owner occupied, it should be whatever you want to do.
Yeah, they
Basement,
they
rooms.
go into
Agreed.
to great length about that, and I like it's sort of detailed because it talks about using the homestead tax credit because that proves you live there in the state property database, SStat database, and there was an amendment by Alderman Savage, to have a temporary license because sometimes it takes some time to get the database updated, and I don't know that I that's a valid concern, but it sort of makes it even more complicated. So I think our task here is how do we want to craft a recommendation that says we're really supportive of this, but we need to do the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. And I did not get this from reading the legislation. And I don't know if it's just as Alderman Schneidermeyer said that, that the Office of Law has weighed in too heavily. But Quentin,
Yeah, no, just that exactly. I think that in this kind of situation, I can't imagine that Alderman Schneidermeyer wanted to make it super complicated, and somewhere between his intent, hey, legalize this thing because there should be nothing wrong with this being legal, and whoever he's had to work with to be able to create this legislation, in that mix is how it created the monster that it is. But yeah, it's dumb, it's stupid, in my own opinion, that this is illegal. It happens all the time. There's literally a Facebook group that helps to connect people do all this. So I think, from what I'm hearing from others as well, is that high five, Alderman Schneidermeyer, we want you to move forward with this, but not with all that restriction stuff, just legalize it.
So before we have any kind of motion or vote, can I impose on you to write up the findings?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so anyway, I would. Anybody want to make a motion?
I have a question first.
Yeah.
This whole thing about a lock on the bedroom door, is there a law against that in Annapolis? Ms.
No,
Ross?
if I were just speculation here, was that again, Alderman Brooks wanted to just create something that was legalizing this, and probably in his conversations with city staff and lawyers, they probably threw that in there as a requirement. So again,
It
that's
is something that as people look at for rental license inspections, the inspectors do look for that key lock on a bedroom door, which is typically seen as a characteristic of a rooming house, which is not allowed by our zoning code, which would require people to remove it.
Okay, got it. Thanks for that clarification, Ms. Robinson. Okay.
Yeah, it seems to me something like that. I don't know if that needs to be in the code. That could be handled in the inspection requirements or anyway. But does somebody want to make a motion to sort of reflect what we've talked about to make it simple? I'm a little averse to starting to edit the legislation because I think if we start going down that route, we're just going to make it even more complicated. I think the best thing we can do is echo the sentiment that we want this to be legal, but we want it to be really simple so people will actually do it and not just do it off book. So I guess I'll make that motion. I think that's a coherent enough motion to support it with the recommendation that it be greatly simplified. And so I'll make that motion. Does anybody have a second?
Second.
Okay, so any discussion? So we've already been discussing this, but I would say, I think I would leave it to the drafter to fill in some of the details there. And I would say this idea of not having doors that are locked from the inside, that all seems good, but those kinds of things probably should not be in the code and should be in a a inspection document or something. That's more of a policy and procedure than something we want code.
Agreed.
So anybody else have any further comments before we vote on that?
Simpler is better, like super simple.
Yeah.
That like super simple. So yeah.
Okay, all in favor of that motion, say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, no abstentions. Great. Well, thank you, Quentin, for letting me volunteer you to write that up. And so hopefully we can get that done, and maybe even in the next meeting that since there's a recommendation, I think we can do that. We can do that behind and maybe vote on it at the next meeting. Okay, well, thank you, Alexis, for bringing that to us, and hopefully we are going to make your life easier here.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thank
that takes us. We have no other business on the agenda, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second.
Second. Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty. Well, thank you all for coming tonight, and another great meeting. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, everyone have a
Sounds
great.
good.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
All right, see you.
All right, Madeline.